Hey, my name is Danielle. Thank you so much for watching the podcast today. Today, I am chatting with Ashley. She planned her own micro destination wedding. I think micro destination weddings definitely will be picking up in popularity because why not? It is so much more intimate. So you'll learn Ashley's reason why she didn't want to have a 120-person wedding, why she booked an amazing villa on a cliff, how she saved thousands of dollars on her florals. Ashley has no shame to her game. She negotiated the price of the villa, negotiated the venue where they had the dinner, and bought her dress secondhand. You'd never be able to tell. I love Ashley. She's one of my clients, actually. My name is Danielle Blanchard. I'm a destination wedding photographer. I love to help people. I like to take pictures too. But so I started this podcast to help couples help plan their destination wedding. So I'm all about giving lots of information. We talk about deposits, vendors, do's and don'ts, and the best things and the worst things about the best day of your life. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate. Leave any comments, any questions in the comments, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Good. Haven't chatted in a while. You're in Mexico right now?
Yeah. So I know when we first connected, we were living in like Puerto Vallarta, Bucerias, and now we moved to the other side of Mexico. So now we're in Playa del Carmen, and it's really, like, it's good. I like it here a lot. It doesn't have that rugged hillside Pacific Ocean surf vibe here, but it's fun. It's cool. I'm meeting really interesting people, and the ocean is calm, so it's easier to swim in.
That's awesome.
Remember how I told you about boogie boarding? I told you about like boogie boarding and surfing and how I'm like, it's dangerous, go do it, but it's really dangerous.
Well, you were saying, I was telling you that, like, I was planning the week before to go surfing, and you're like, you're planning on going surfing a week before your wedding? Have you done it before? I was like, no, I've never done it before, but I'm really excited to try it. And you're like, wait till after your wedding. You're going to be all banged up and bruised and just wait.
Did you end up going surfing?
No, I didn't. I was going to go afterwards, but we ended up just staying with a bunch of families, so we didn't do that.
Surfing is dangerous. And I know I sound like when I'm like, don't do it, it's dangerous, but it's super dangerous. Super dangerous. This episode is brought to you by Free Spirit Wedding. Hi, I'm Danielle Blanchard, your go-to destination wedding photographer and videographer based in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. That's right, I do it all. Hybrid shooting means you get both stunning photography and highlight video, all for one vendor fee. My style? It's candid, creative, and totally documentary inspired. I'm all about capturing the real, raw, beautiful moments. Plus, I'll make sure you look and feel absolutely amazing while we're at it. Visit www.freespiritwedding.com or follow me on Instagram, Danielle Blanchard_photographer, to learn more. Because being a free spirit means embracing every moment, living it fully, and celebrating your love in the most magical way. Cool. Were you able to read any of the questions that I sent you or anything like that? We can just riff it. I'm in thing too, if you just want to riff it, like wing it.
Yeah, I read them. I'm good with everything.
Okay, amazing.
I think, everything looks great. I'm excited.
How's Taylor doing? How's your husband doing?
Good.
How's all that?
Good. So after the wedding, we barely got to like be married because he ended up getting traveler's diarrhea really bad.
It's funny. Sorry.
Yeah. So he got really bad. So he was in bed for like a week. And then, okay, hold on. Let me skip back a bit. He actually had to leave him in Mexico when we came back because so I don't know if you recall, but I left a week earlier than him to go like do the wedding planning and just work from out there. And he stayed back in Winnipeg. And so this was a big learning lesson, but in canceling his flight there, it in turn canceled his return flight. Even though we told them like he's going to be on the return flight, they went ahead and canceled both of them. So we get to the airport and we're being flight angels for a dog too. So we have this random dog with us that we're taking back to Canada, and me and the dog get on the flight. He doesn't. So he had to stay in Mexico, get a last minute Airbnb, and it was during Pride Week. So like the city was bustling. There was nowhere to stay. Like it was crazy. So he ended up getting a place, and then his flight back. We had to buy him a whole new flight back. And ended up taking him like 3 different flights and like 26 hours or something to get home because there were so many layovers. And finally he got home and we're like, okay, great, we can be married, everything's great now. And then he got travelers to America for a week. And then a week after that, I went to Toronto for work. So it took us maybe about a month and a half after like our wedding to actually settle into married life because we were just apart the whole time.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed. I just didn't
No, it's hilarious.
for a week and then that was it. I didn't realize there was like the flight cancellation and then you went to TO and things like that.
Honestly, it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for let me talk to you. I appreciate it so much. I really enjoyed photographing your wedding. I loved how you guys did a micro wedding, a small wedding, which I think more and more people will be doing because I don't know. Like, obviously, there's a million reasons, but yeah, number one, it's like amazing. And you really get to spend quality time with your friends and your family when you really just downsize it into a more intimate, personal wedding date.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time so much. And I think you had an amazing wedding. And I think actually more people should I think it takes, you have to be sort of bold to do a small wedding because I'm assuming there were people that didn't make the cut, you know? Is that true?
I mean, we have a smaller family, and we kind of based our guest list around immediate, intimate family. So people we see, once or twice a month minimum. That's kind of our guest list because we were essentially the idea in having a small wedding is a year prior. I went to my girlfriend's wedding as a bridesmaid, and her wedding was absolutely beautiful, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted mine to look like. And I got really good insight because it was a very traditional, all-American wedding. There were maybe 120, 130 people there.
Yeah.
Her budget was, I think she ended up spending around 30, 40 grand for it. And which is average. It's an average, Canadian amount to spend. And it ended up being this big elaborate wedding where, the food came out and it was, everyone got the same meal and it was good, but it wasn't great because, the caterer has to feed 120, 130 people at the same time. And also I noticed she's, frantically running around saying hi to every single person, and she didn't touch her food. She didn't touch her wine, and her food got cold and she only said hi to half the people. And her greetings were only 2-3 minutes. Hello, thanks for coming. Nice to see you. And she didn't end up spending any time with her husband, and she spent very little time with each person. So I kind of saw that. And I mean, not only with her, the wedding was gorgeous. The venue was beautiful and everything, but I wanted something a bit more intimate for my family and for my experience. And so I wanted to give that to my family. I wanted to cut the guest list very, very small. So I think our total guest list was about 16 people, 18 including us. And just make that, also cut the budget in half. And we ended up spending just under 22,000 in total.
That's amazing.
And we ended up being able to spend an intimate 4 days with the closest people to us. So it was great because it was an unforgettable experience for everyone involved, I hope. And we were able to, have a really, just an unforgettable time rather than just a big, crazy, hectic 24 hours. So,
yeah, I felt like your wedding really was intimate and your friends all hanging out in this stunning Airbnb or the villa. What was it? How did you find that villa?
So that was probably the most difficult part of wedding planning was actually, first of all, locking down a date that works with everybody and that works with the villa, and also finding a villa that was somewhat affordable and was all the things that we needed to have. So we needed something with a kitchen and a chef so that they can prepare all of our meals so that we can all kind of stay there.
Nice.
We also needed it to have a space. We wanted to save on the venue costs by getting married at the villa. Like, we did have a destination wedding in Mexico, but I'm not a sand girl. I do not like sand, and I did not want to get married on a beach. So
Right.
we wanted a space inside the villa that actually looked nice enough for a wedding. So that kind of added a criteria to it. And then we needed enough rooms. So I think ours had 8 rooms, and it ended up having the ocean view with like mountains in the background, which was absolutely stunning. And it ended up having a bit of a botanical type garden thing on
Oh,
the top.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it had like koi fish. It was so beautiful. And that was like a perfect little setting where we can have our venue. So that really worked out well. But the way that I found it, again, a lot of, Verbo, Airbnb searches. I ended up, my biggest thing was I think I ended up finding this place on Airbnb, but when you're working with a villa, it's really good to go directly to them. So I think
Right.
I ended up finding it on either Facebook or Airbnb or some sort of website, and then just contacting them directly and then working directly with the people. So it was really good. And the villa was absolutely stunning, and the staff were unbelievably amazing. They catered to everything we needed. And yeah, it was wonderful.
So you booked Villa Balboa
Yeah, it's just outside of Puerto Vallarta.
in the Miss Maloya area of PV. And then
Yes,
how far out did you book your wedding? Like a year or 8 months? Like how far out did you book the venue?
we ended up booking. So the wedding was in May, and I think we ended up locking down the venue in October. I
Oh,
mean, I
wow.
would probably recommend doing it a little bit further out in the future. One of my girlfriends who's having a very similar wedding to me right now, she tried to book the same villa and she couldn't get it because Balboa was booked like a year and a half out now. So yeah, I would definitely recommend doing it a bit sooner, but we also wanted to make sure that it was in decent proximity to Puerto Vallarta so that people could, go into town one of the days and, check it out. Or we didn't want to be super isolated.
Right.
Ubers also were able to reach it. So it was about maybe 10 minutes away from the core center of the city. We're right on a bus route, which is great because, I mean,
Did you
buses
take
are
the
like
bus?
5 pesos.
Did you
Yeah,
take
we
the
did a
bus?
few
Good.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the buses are good.
Yeah,
And
they're
then
great.
what was the process of booking the villa? Did they want like 50% or 25% or like what was that process booking Villa Balboa?
Yeah, so they wanted 50%, which was incredibly nerve-wracking because when you're sending a wire transfer to a random company with a bunch of money, you get a little bit nervous, but we ended up to save cost. We also ended up having our guests pay for the room, and then we just paid for food for that whole week. So our guests individually paid for their rooms. So what I did is I got the 50% deposit from all of our guests. Plus we ended up paying, I mean, we're using it as a venue. So we ended up paying more than everybody to kind of offset that cost. And then, yeah, it was 50% deposit up front. And the villa was very good with working with us because, again, we're in Canada.
So the villa was, sorry, did you say it was 8 rooms?
I think it was about 8 rooms, yeah, if I'm remembering correctly.
And how many people did it sleep? Did it sleep all 15? Did everyone at your wedding
Yes,
stay in that villa?
everyone,
Wow.
everyone at the wedding stayed at the villa.
And so how much was it? How long did you book the villa for? A whole week?
We booked it for 4 days.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
And
we
then,
had,
sorry, go ahead. So
yeah,
go ahead. So you booked it for 4 days and it came with the
yeah,
chef?
it did. Yes. And it came with a beautiful kitchen. They also had like a barbecue beside the infinity pool. It was more than we expected. And we were lucky enough to be able to go out to Puerto Vallarta in December. So the
Mm-hmm.
wedding was in May, but we went out in December to meet
Mm-hmm.
you and go to the
Yeah.
villa and kind of
Yeah.
tie up some loose ends and see things in person because that was really big to be able to, have some boots on the ground experience and, be able to see everything and plan everything out. So that was great to do. But yeah, we it was just an absolutely beautiful villa and the staff were amazing. And I think that's very standard. In Mexico, they don't typically have the greatest service at restaurants or anything, but so they
Right.
work really hard. And I don't think that money was the primary motive because they were just very, very kind to us. And one of them gave me a big hug after. Like they were very, very kind and very personable and got along really well with everyone. So I think that's very important to, get along with the staff because they could really make or break your experience. They could make it exceptional or, if they're not attentive, that it might not be great.
Yeah, I do remember that when I did the walkthrough with you, the staff were really nice. And so, yeah, the service here, it's not that it's like bad, it's just different. So, like, service
Yeah.
in Canada, you're sort of used to being like doted on. You're used
Yeah.
to, hey, can I fill up your water? How was your meal? Can I get you anything? Mexicans will bring your food, and if you need anything, they just assume you'll ask for it. So, as like
Yeah.
a Canadian, you're like, is like, can someone come around? But it's just like a
Yeah.
different style of service. So you
Mhm.
had to go for 4 days with the chef, 16 people.
Sure, it was about 16.
How much did the villa cost with everything? Like, what was the all-in with tip, with food, with chef, with the wedding and all that stuff?
That's a great question.
Did they charge you extra to throw the wedding there, or did you book the villa and tell them like, hey, we want to get married here? And they were like, okay,
Yeah.
for weddings, there's an additional fee.
Yeah, we were honest about that. We did say that we were having a wedding there and they did have a wedding fee. However, I was able to negotiate that fee to be removed because
Because you're a
we
boss.
weren't taking,
Yeah, that's why. That's why.
because number one, we weren't having anyone external come in besides you, our photographer. All of the guests who were attending the wedding were actually there at the villa. We didn't need the staff to move any chairs for us or host the dinner because we actually went somewhere else for a dinner. We just simply have the ceremony there. So we were able to say, listen, our officiant is staying at the villa. It's my husband's mom. And, we're not having anybody external come in. That was very easy to kind of talk to them and negotiate that off. A lot of places I know still will require a fee. I think originally they were going to charge us 1,500 USD for an event fee or something like that, which is pretty standard. But then again, that entails like you're going to get the staff that's going to help you out. And then again, like the staff were very helpful. Like they made us a bunch of little slices of pizza for the in-between while we were waiting for our Ubers for dinner.
Oh,
so that was
man.
really nice. In terms of amounts paid for the villa, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't. There are more expensive ones out there.
What was the 50% deposit that you put down then? Like, what was it to just book it?
Let's see here. So I think our deposit, I think it was about $7,000 Canadian.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
And then the next camp was 7,400. Yeah. So it was about 15,000 ish. Yeah.
And that was, that's it. But that included food?
No, that didn't include food. So what we did is a day before we got the villa, me, my fiance at the time, and one of our really close friends, we went to Costco and we budgeted $1,000 for Costco. So we budgeted 500 food, 500 alcohol, and that was more than enough. I think the villa staff did have to go out and buy some extra food, which they were happy to do for us. But we ended up buying like, $500 worth of like eggs and popsicles and just like random little things that we would use. And, Canadian Costco's don't have alcohol. Well, sorry, Manitoba Costco's don't have alcohol. So it was really nice to be able to go and like get everything in one stop.
That blew my mind moving to Mexico. The alcohol section in Costco here is off the hook. It's like 30%
Crazy.
of the store is booze. The accessibility to booze here it's kind of awesome, especially if you're throwing an event. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
rad. That's so good. That's so good. I love that.
We had like a $500 budget for alcohol. I think we came in just under 500 for that to feed or to liquor up like 18 adults. We had leftover alcohol that I ended up just packing in our suitcase, bringing home with us. Like we had
That's
tons
amazing.
of leftover, and like we were there,
Amazing.
we were partying for 4 days. So it's like
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna have enough, and we had more than enough.
And you guys are young too. Like how, like you guys are young. So that's like when you say
Yeah.
partying, that's like, yeah, you're actually partying. Like you're I took a picture. I don't remember her name. She's got dark long hair, and I think you're pouring booze into her mouth.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Lindsay. She's
Lindsay. Okay.
hilarious. Yeah.
And I was just
Hmm.
like, the young people are so fun and they're all crazy. And there's like
Yeah.
no children running around. Like, you know, a lot of people get married in their mid to late 30s and there's like kids running around all the time. But when you guys are like
Yes.
young and there's no kids, you're like, ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And like, I don't have anything against kids, but we did have a no kid wedding. I did preface that there were a few guests who couldn't make it, unfortunately, because
Yeah,
of that
have
rule, which
children.
I did feel really badly
Okay.
about. But I mean, I've been to weddings before where there's children, and there were some bad experiences. So
I have children. I love my children. They are the light of my life, dude. They are the
yes,
light of my life. But oh my God, I find children annoying as hell sometimes. So like, I love my girls. I love my girls so, so much. They're
yeah.
like they're my babies. But why did you like, I'm not mad at you for not having a child-free wedding, but tell me why. Like, tell me why. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I was just like, cool, I'm
Yeah.
young and fucking living it up. Let's go.
Yeah, so I think one of the big reasoning is because when I was envisioning this wedding, I was envisioning 4 very intimate days with our closest friends and family where we can all mingle and chat and party and just, not worry about the stresses of life and have an experience that we'll probably never have again. So I think that it wouldn't be spoiled for children being there, but it would be different because parents would have to take care of their children, or if someone drinks a little bit too much, they might feel uncomfortable or feel the need to be reserved, or,
Yeah, I don't drink. I don't drink in front of my kids because I just don't want them. I just don't want to normalize getting hammered in front of my kids.
Exactly.
But I like to get hammered though. I'm not gonna lie. Like I like.
Yeah. Yeah. So we really wanted it to be like a very relaxed, no kid setting, like very like adult, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
I think the most important, most special part of the wedding for me is to just have everyone under the same roof for 4 days and just have those intimate connections. And again, comparing it to my friend's wedding, who again, the budget was probably double than ours, and having 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes maybe with people throughout the course of one night rather than having hours with one person across 4 days was very big for me to have and really important.
So what was that incident with children at a wedding that just like
No,
we
we were invited to the wedding, and one of their family members' kids, the whole speeches, and it was a very formal wedding. So they had speeches, and it was at like a banquet hall or like a golf course. And there was maybe like a 4-year-old boy, and he was the most precious thing in the world. He spent most of the speeches running around screaming, and everyone was silent, and he just ran around every single table saying, Mommy, catch me, and like running and yelling. And the speeches had to be like paused, because people were getting distracted. Well, no, I do not want interruptions. I really just wanted something a bit more intimate, and schooling kids is not extreme intimacy.
your side.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to put my child in like an adult sit down dinner situation when they want to run around in a huge banquet hall. Like they're like, look, and so I totally agree with you. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool too that you like kind of set that boundary. You know what I mean? Because most people don't have like, they're just afraid. They don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
And you're like, sorry, this isn't part of my vision board. Children are not.
The vision for the wedding was a little bit different. And if we wanted something that was, very kid friendly and family oriented, and like we had events that were planned too. It's like, okay, well, if we're doing one of these events, you're going to have to stay home with your kid, have to kind of cater the whole wedding around. Because again, I wanted it to be very inclusive of everybody who was there.
As long as you were an adult, inclusive to
adult. Yeah. Because then if you're a child, then I'm going to have to change like half my wedding plans and make it so that everyone can come. Because if your kid can't come, someone has to stay home with the kid.
I don't think the venue that you picked on a cliff with an infinity pool would be considered child friendly.
No, I think I'd be very stressed out about that.
Yeah. Of course, that kid's gonna fucking go over is going to go over the anyway. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we were
Okay,
like stressed enough
did you
about
have other
having like
restrictions? Like, did you lay down any other laws? What else did you do where you were like, no this, no that? Like, did you say any other no's?
so I think the only other thing, and this might be very specific to me and my family, is my family, some people in my family have a lot of very political beliefs
Sure,
on either side. And
sure.
that's fair, but some people can be very vocal about it.
Yeah,
So having those kind of awkward conversations about, hey, listen, we love you, we appreciate your beliefs, but let's really keep this not political, let's keep the peace, because you have to realize that as fun as it is and as great as it is to have your entire family under one roof for 4 days, you're still having your entire family under one roof for 4 days. People who haven't lived together since they were young, or people who haven't, like brothers and sisters, and people fight. And so it was really, we have to be very clear about, let's keep the peace for 4 days. If things start to get political or heated, maybe walk away, or maybe let's try to avoid the conversations altogether and keep it back to Canada, where we can go to a family dinner and leave at the end of the night and talk shit about each other to our on-site or
right,
our partners.
right.
But for this, let's stay not political. So I think that was one of the bigger ones.
Did they listen?
They did. It was great.
After all that Costco booze, people didn't.
Yeah, it went really well, and we were quite surprised at how civil everyone was. Like,
Because they love you. That's
everyone had such a great time, and like try to bring everyone together in one setting. And so having this intimate wedding where Taylor's closest people and my closest people were under the same roof getting along. And we've had, leading up to the wedding, we had a couple family dinners, and leading up to the wedding, we had a little engagement party, and they were able to mingle and kind of get to know each other a little bit more. But I mean, after the wedding, Taylor's parents and my aunt and uncle went golfing, which makes me feel so good, because it's like they are connecting because of us, and our little individual families are now becoming one big family, which is my dream. I would absolutely love that. So in having those relationships, I believe at the villa, they were able to discuss their, love for golf, and then they ended up going together. But it's just been really lovely to have everyone stay together.
That's so nice that you were able to like blend the tribes, and
Yes.
that's a very like feminine thing to do, eh? That's like a very like feminine type of energy thing. So it's very good that you were able to do that. That's amazing. And I also think that's like good foreshadowing as well, because when people get married and their families don't get along, I'm like, ooh, that's not good. You guys will have a long, successful marriage.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Okay, let me go back to some of my questions. I just like chatting with you about like, I don't know about you.
No, we have really good chats. I love our little conversation. That's why I miss wedding planning with you, because like we were able to like sit down and like go on FaceTime and just chat, and I don't know. It was so much fun.
I know. Okay, what did you guys do? Speaking of being like young people, did you guys do any fun activities together?
Yeah, so I planned the 4 days very detail oriented. I have this with me just to like reference, but I made this as an itinerary guide where it has.
Hold it up. I want to see this. Hold it up. I want to see it.
So it's my itinerary guide that I made for all of our wedding guests.
And then hold on. Did you make this hard copy for people?
Yeah, everyone got one.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Everyone got a copy, but I have like on the first page like language so that they can kind of like learn. I mean, how to say help, or I want a table, or where's the bathrooms, like just like a few little phrases in Spanish for people, because there are a few people who are going like a week or so beforehand. People who haven't been to Puerto Vallarta, like I wanted to help them out a little bit because I've made mistakes being there for the first time. But I also have like, general information like how to get an Uber from the airport.
So you didn't do an app. So most people do an app or a website on like the Knot or something. You printed a hard copy program.
Yes.
That's amazing.
We had, 18 people, so I'm not going to make a website or an app or anything like.
Yeah, that would have been easy.
Yeah, I did a QR code for like photo uploads.
Nice.
If like we can all, combine in like an album on like iPhotos or whatever, all the pictures that we individually took. But then I also had like, so I also had like key information, like on one of them. I made this mistake before, but bathrooms, how they say it, like M and H on it, it's not man, it's mujer, for women. So like things like that to kind of help people not walk into the wrong bathroom. And I can send you a digital copy if you'd like. And I also had like,
please send me a digital copy. I'm
sure.
thinking, like, what did it say? Yeah, I totally.
And then I had like different attractions, like daytime attractions, walking and hiking, nightlife attractions. I had this little map here of the villa, which labeled all the rooms. And then underneath here, I'm very detail.
The most type A shit I've ever seen in my life. But I love it though. It's like so comforting to look at this. It's amazing.
I was very proud of this until I got it printed and I started sending it to people. And I did not realize how many spelling mistakes there are in this, which is incredibly embarrassing. I cannot spell for the life of me. Like I am the worst at spelling. And there are so many spelling mistakes in here and it's kind of embarrassing, but it's okay. Yeah. And I have actually fired my proofreader, which is my husband, because he proofread this and he's let all this stuff fly.
Okay, but that's your fault. I'm sorry, because dudes, like, they do not have the attention to detail. They don't, you
like some of our family members, we have a writer in the family who used to write for like be an editor for a newspaper. And so handing this to him and just knowing how many spelling errors were on this was like hurt a little. Because I'm just thinking, damn, he's going to read it and he's gonna be like, this is wrong. And it's but whatever.
It's fine.
And then we had like the itinerary. So we had like day 1 itinerary, what time you're checking in, what time the rehearsal dinner is at. And then like day 2, which had, all the wedding information. And then day 3 and 4, which, everything is on here. So it kind of gives everyone a good guide to. So of course, day 1, we set up everything. And of course, like 4 or 5 of us out of the 18 were incredibly sick. So a couple of us just, relaxed. But yeah, there were a few people who got really sick, myself included. I was very sick right before the wedding. Like, it was horrible. Like, I was like, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. But anyway, yeah. Oh, and some people got the flu when we were there. Like, it was bad. It was really, everyone got sick. But we all lived and we all had a great time. But regardless of that, yeah, so day 1, we just kind of did like the rehearsal dinner. And then the next day we had the wedding, bringing everyone together. We did like a group brunch in the morning of the wedding. And then after the brunch, we all kind of split off. And then we did like a little girls getting ready in our bedroom. So I kicked Taylor out of our bedroom to go get ready in his parents' room because our room was massive. It was a massive room in the villa overlooking the ocean with like an infinity jacuzzi tub. Like it was stunning. And then you came and we did a little photo shoot, which was really fun. And then after that, we did like a couple more photos. And then, of course, we did the wedding of the rooftop. And then, I guess we can talk a little bit more about the wedding itself. But we did, we had the wedding at sunset. And probably about a week prior, every single night I was looking at the sunset and I was kind of judging like what time the sun went down at. And I was trying to like plan times around when the sun went down because I wanted to be like a beautiful sunset ceremony. And probably one of the most magical moments was it was told afterwards that when we said I do and kissed, apparently the sun went down right at that moment, which is so crazy. But I'm
Did you guys do any like excursions or book a catamaran or anything like that?
We didn't do anything like that because, again, I wanted to keep costs low for everyone because everyone kind of was coming into this with a different budget. So the day after our wedding, I made it a very chill day. Do whatever you want. Just be back by dinner so we can spend time together. So we ended up actually all having breakfast together again. Like the chef made breakfast for everyone. And then from there, I think some people, honestly, I think most people just spent the day relaxing by the pool because it was the day after the wedding. We were up till like 7 a.m. We all just wanted to kind of like relax and enjoy the beautiful villa. And then in the evening, we all got together the plan was we were going to get together for a movie. One of my all-time favorite movies is Top Gun. The new one. I love that movie.
Okay.
We had a movie theater inside the villa, which was so beautiful. So we were all gonna go there to watch the movie and everything. But again, as Canadians, hockey playoffs took precedent over that. So we ended up watching another playoff game. And then we all went to day 3, we did a waterfall hike. So I found a waterfall, maybe about a 10-minute drive from us. So we all, piled in a bus, 5 pesos each, and we went down to this waterfall and had like a morning hike. The waterfall, we were able to swim there, which was really lovely. And then we came back and it was kind of like free time, do whatever you want. And then we met back together for dinner. And this was one of my favorite parts, but I actually ended up making like an Olympic style game for that night. So this was our last night there. And each couple had to bring, I think, $20, or 200 pesos or something. And we all threw it into like a hat. Now, each couple is a team. And I had like I think I had like 10 or 11 games planned. Mm-hmm. And we did like this Olympic style game thing, and everyone ended up having like, I don't know, it was a ton of fun because some of the games were like personalized. Some of them were like having to do with like the arcade that was in the villa. Like we did a Jeopardy to start it off, where it was like a family Jeopardy where you chose like a category that was like, I don't know, a category about Taylor. And then it was like, how many trucks has Taylor gotten stolen, or how many pets have they had? Like, how many trucks? 2 within a year. It was bad. One of them actually made the news. No. One of them was a joyride, which we had just bought a new truck to replace his old one that just got stolen. And then it got stolen again. And he ended up driving like 100 kilometers on just the rims. Because that was bad. It was really bad.
Did you put an air tag in the second truck? Like a GPS tag in it?
I told him to, but he didn't listen. I know. I put air tags in everything.
I put air tag on my dog for a while.
I have 2 air tags on my dog too, right on their little collar. But yeah, our new van, we have an air tag in now because I'm like, we're not going to deal with another stolen vehicle.
Okay, I want to look at some of your wedding photos.
Yeah.
Because we can sort of talk about it. Just so un momento, because I want to. It's going to screen share. Can you see my?
Yes. But
I want this to be a full page, and it's not doing that. Come on, let's go full page. Because one thing I thought that you did.
Okay. So I'm sorry if you hear like dogs barking in the background. I have 2 foster puppies right now, and they're like little devil dogs. They're so loud. Like they're coyotes. Oh. They're from up north and were found like with I don't know. They look like coyotes and they act like coyotes.
Okay, so something I want to talk about, because flowers, I know you talked about keeping costs down, and flowers are like a huge, yes, super expensive. But you brought your own flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me how you did that, because I think that's amazing that you did that.
Yeah, so I wanted like the luxury wedding without the luxury price tag. My dress and my flowers, I saved a ton of money on those. And the way I did it was the flowers, I made a decision to go with Real Touch Silk flowers from an agency pretty close to where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And they look real. They didn't wilt in the heat. They lasted, mm-hmm. I mean, I still have them to this day, and they looked absolutely stunning. And I was able to travel with them very easily. So I really just, honestly, I used a hockey bag because some of the pieces were quite large.
Canadian,
and I had a hockey bag lying around in my basement. So I used a hockey bag, and I ended up just vacuum sealing the flowers and then just piling them in a hockey bag and bringing them out to Mexico. They worked out really well. And as you can see on the altar there, we had them as altar pieces. And then we ended up bringing them to the dinner. So we just zip tied them up, cut them, and I dedicated one person to bring them to the next location and place them on the table nicely. And I mean, it was such a great hack because I think I got a quote for the same amount of flowers, and we ended up getting the 2 big altarpieces, the bouquet. We got 2 of those bouquets, and I think I got a quote for real flowers for that, and it was honest to God like $3,000. And I ended up spending with all of the flowers that we got. I think it came out to around like $330 or 400, maybe $50 each way for like
Right.
for having the hockey bag. But I mean, in the hockey bag, I brought other things for the wedding too. That the other hack is the dress.
Okay.
So my dress and veil, I calculated it, and I think it was about, God, I might be exaggerating a little, but I kind of recall it being about $8,000 for my veil and dress. But I ended up buying it from Still White, which is a website that I highly recommend. And I bought it used. And I think I got my dress and my veil for about, I think it came in just under $1,500.
That's
And that's like
wild.
alterations and
Your
everything.
dress is beautiful. I love your dress. The
Thank
detailing,
you.
like the lace.
you.
Okay, so rewind. Okay, so you got your flowers from what site did you get it from?
So it's a company in Brandon, Manitoba called Flowers by Abby.
Gotcha.
They're very,
Sure.
very good, and they were
Yeah.
phenomenal. And she was really attentive, and she sent me photos of my bouquet. She sent me photos of the altarpieces and oh, I also got a boutonniere for my husband too. And she sent me photos of everything, and there were some flowers I didn't like, and I'd say, oh, can you swap that yellow one out for a white one? Or do you have a different texture for this one? And like, she was great. She swapped everything out for me. She was very attentive. So I customized the bouquets, and I absolutely loved the way they turned out. And, you know, they smelled amazing because she like sprayed some perfume on them. Like, they were absolutely gorgeous, and no one questioned that they were real or not. And I actually had a few people afterwards say like, wow, I loved your flowers. Where did you get them? Like, you know, where in Puerto Vallarta did you get them? How much were they? And I'm like, they were like $400. Like, it was so cheap, and I still have them now.
It was just so clever, and it literally saved thousands of dollars. And I think people are like, oh, fake flowers, poo poo. And it's like, no, dude.
Like, I mean, in that bottom left-hand photo,
Yeah.
the purple flowers on the top, those are real. And the ones on the bottom, it looks the opposite to me. Like, it looks like the purple ones are fake.
Right.
But those are the real
Right.
ones. And like, it was, I don't know, very important that it didn't wilt in the heat, because, you know, if you're carrying them from location to location and they're wilting, like, it doesn't look very good. And it just, so they stayed bright and beautiful and easy to transport, and no one was really worried about them getting damaged on the way. And so that was really important.
I just wanted to show this because, okay, tell me, rewind about this dress. So I love, there's no shame to your game. You're like silk flowers, secondhand dress, no kids allowed. You're just like, fucking,
I knew what I wanted.
No, I'm joking. But tell me about this dress. I love this dress. So how did you go? Sorry, what was the website again?
It's called Still White.
Still White. Like STILL White.
Yeah.
And then you bought this online? Did you do a fitting, or are they just really, the website's amazing?
Yeah, so I actually ended up buying my dress before I even planned the wedding, because, you know, like, we got married, we knew, we got engaged, we kind of knew we were wanting to get married within the next year or so. Then, so of course, like, I was just casually looking at dresses, and I ended up finding one brand that I really liked. I really like Lillian West. They have kind of like a boho, like I wanted something very elegant, but also kind of sexy and a bit vintage with like lacing.
You're like very much like an hourglass.
Yeah, so I really wanted something that kind of incorporated something like vintage but elegant, and like, I don't know. So I really liked the lacing. I really liked something like tight, and lots of details. So I ended up finding their website and looking through some of the dresses, and I was like, okay, I think this is the brand I want to go with, but let's try on some dresses in person, because, you know, you never know what something looks like until you try it on. So then I ended up doing the traditional wedding dress shopping and finding a couple dresses that I loved, and I ended up falling in love with that one in particular in the store, did not fall in love with the price tag. So I found the dress. I'm like, you know what, let me just see if anyone's selling it. And I ended up finding Still White. And not only did they have that dress, but they had like that dress in almost every size, honestly.
Okay.
Like they had so many sizes.
You went to a bridal shop, found your
The price tag was about 3,500 at the store that I got it from, but the most expensive piece is the veil. The veil is it matched. It's the cathedral length veil that's an exact match for the dress, and it's made for the dress. So it's a gorgeous, very long veil, but on the bottom it has the same detailing as the dress, and it kind of crawls its way up. So it's absolutely stunning, and the veil itself was. So the girl who I bought it off of, I was talking with her, and she said she spent with everything to about $8,000 on her dress. And then I ended up buying it from her for about $1,500. I know not a lot of people want a used dress, but I'm not superstitious, and I was totally okay with it.
Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, spending like $1,500 on it, like, yeah, it is like, it's a heavy price tag. It's more than I wanted to spend for sure, but I don't feel guilty about like, I mean, I got spray tan before my wedding, and I got spray tan on it, and I don't feel guilty about that because it's like, you know what, whatever, it's fine. Like, I'm gonna use it once, and it looked great in it, and it's, you know, awesome.
So are you now going to sell this dress for $1,500? But like, you're keeping it?
I am gonna keep it, and next time you go to Mexico City, they have an absolutely stunning castle. I don't know if you've been there, but
No,
the castle in Mexico City.
Talking about this before.
Yeah. So that was my first option for where I wanted to get married. I kind of wanted to do like a big castle wedding. But that's very, very, very expensive. And also Mexico City, like, it's very busy, and it doesn't necessarily have that same kind of like home feeling that Puerto Vallarta has. We decided against that and just to get married in Puerto Vallarta. But I still want to take that dress to Mexico City, and I want to cut it short, but keep the veil long. So what I want to do is I want to cut my dress short, and with the bottom of the dress, I want to make like long sleeves. And so I'll have like long sleeves. I'll keep the veil the same length, but then I'll have the wedding dress short. And then I want to take like photos inside that castle because they have stained glass. It's so beautiful. It's like old Mexican architecture. I want to do that so bad. So
let's do it. I'm done.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, perfect. I'll convince Taylor. Yeah.
What about Taylor's suit? Did he just like rent a suit, or did he already have the suit?
I mean, his suit. He drove me a little bit crazy because, as men do, he procrastinated so much. And I mean, you saw Taylor. He's built like a football player. He does not fit the regular suits off him. Like, listen, you need to get your suit 4 months before, latest, so you can get your alterations and everything's great. About a month and a half before, he still did not have a suit. I was stressed out. I'm like, okay, we gotta go today. So I like locked down a time with him, and we went suit shopping. And of course, nothing fit him. Yeah. And nothing was the right color. Yeah. I really envisioned like him in a tan suit that would be very comparable to mine, because mine wasn't white. It was like an off-white color. Yeah. And I think it would look really good. Like, but at the same time, he was saying like, it's very hard to find that color of fabric, especially with a month and a half notice. And it's also very difficult to find one that would fit him. And yeah, and also he's not probably ever going to use that again. So we opted for something that he would use again. And it was a very unique color, but it's a gorgeous suit. Yeah, we ended up going to all of the suit shops, off the rack suit shops, and nothing fit him. And so we ended up having to go to an expensive custom suit place in Winnipeg here. And it was like this boutique store, and it was great. His suit is gorgeous, and he's gonna wear it again for sure. He already has worn it to different events, but that was definitely a line item in the budget that doubled because he waited until the last minute to get it. But I mean, it was worth it because he's worn it many times since, and it looks great on him.
Taylor fucking up your bottom line here, eh? Like,
honestly, I was like, you need to get a suit yesterday. What are we doing? Still not getting? I don't know. Yeah. So, men. Sorry, I was just gonna say we had a bit of a scare, or only thing that could have gone catastrophically wrong, which thank God ended up working out. But So I stayed there. I went a week before him because he stayed back to work, and then I work remote, so I was able to work there for about a week beforehand. And I opted to stay in this like $25 a night Airbnb. It was close to the city, close to like my co-working space. You know, being a week before the wedding, and have like Taylor now being on vacation, he wanted to stay in like a bit of a nicer place. So when he flew in, he met me at I met him at the airport, and then we ended up going back to my Airbnb, my little cheap Airbnb, and packing up all my stuff because I had a lot of stuff with me. And we were bringing it to our next Airbnb. And when the Uber pulled up, we're putting all the bags in sync with our wedding dresses, bags, everything. I think we had like 8 or 9 bags with us.
Gotcha.
That were out. And so it was me and the Airbnb, or it was me, the Uber driver, and Taylor. We were all kind of piling it into this van from the side of the road. And then we go to our next Airbnb, and we get there, we put everything back. The guy gives us like a 20-minute tour. We're sitting there chatting, shooting the shit. And then he leaves, I start unpacking everything, and I go, Taylor, where's the flowers? Did you put them in the living room? Like, where are the flowers? And we go to the living room, they're not there. And he's like, I don't remember packing the flowers. Do you? I'm like, I don't remember packing the flowers, but everything was on the side of the road together. Like,
No.
what do you mean? So we're looking. And the flowers, again, like the replacement cost of them would have been like $3,000 to get all of them. And this is like 2 or 3 days before the wedding. So I'm starting to like panic a little bit. I'm like, okay, where are the flowers? Like, let's look around here. So we searched the Airbnb. We searched everywhere. They're not there. It's like, oh my God. And also in the flowers, I also made this Jeopardy board that took me hours to do because I handmade everything. Like, there was a lot of work inside. I think we also had like some of our itineraries. Like, this was an important bag. And so I am starting to panic. And I go, okay, let's come down here. Let's book a Uber back to our villa, like back to the original apartment that we were in. And it was maybe like a 15-minute drive. And it was the most panicked I've ever been. He kept trying to talk to me. I'm like, don't talk to me right now. Like, I just need to look out the window and plan what we're going to do. And in his head, he's mentally preparing how to, pay for $3,000 to replace everything. Cause we're like, damn, like this could be bad. So we get there. We get to our old Airbnb, and we look, and on the side of the road
is the bag?
Were flowers. Yeah, two bags are flowers, and I don't blame anybody for it because there were 3 of us putting all the bags into the van. Like, clearly, like forgot to put it in, or like
forgot. Exactly. That's what's up.
That it was
you.
There.
Yeah.
But I will never forget that feeling of seeing my wedding flowers that I put so much time into choosing the individual bouquets and making everything perfect. Seeing them on the side of the road, just sitting there, like gave me I panic. Like,
did you scream when you saw them? When you're like,
we didn't say anything. But the one thing that was probably ideal for us, because this was not only a road, like it was a busy Mexican street. There's tons of local foot traffic. And like, the one good thing is that in Mexico, they put their trash on the side of the road, and it really looked like a bag of garbage because the flowers weren't like, it was in a clear bag, but it was like the flowers were like facing the wall, like leaning. They were in the vacuum sealed bag, but they were unvacuum sealed. So like they're expanded. But they were in a clear, expanded bag. But the flower part was facing the wall. So it was just kind of like the plasticky edges. So it really looked like 2 big garbage bags. Thank God. So I think people kind of like just walked past it, assuming that it was just garbage. But luckily, that's like the only major thing. I mean, apart from everybody getting sick, that's like the only thing that could have catastrophically gone wrong.
So you got your flowers. People got sick. Do you think they got sick from the plane though?
No, we had a group go a week before.
Yeah.
We had a few groups go a week before, and I think they got some sort of traveler's diarrhea and Sayulita or wherever they were. But they all kind of got the flu. Yeah. And then I was there a week before, and I was kind of coming down with something. And I think this would be my one big thing that I would do differently if I were to do it over again, is to get enough sleep the week before. because I was working my full-time job and I was also trying to plan the wedding like a week before. I was trying to get everything figured out and I was not
Mhm.
really sleeping much.
Right.
I had some family come in, so I'm trying to entertain them and I'm trying to like finish all the finer details with, you know, planning with the venue and planning with Kate like stuff. Also at the same time working my full-time job. So I was not getting enough sleep. I was also exercising a lot because I'm trying to look nice and toned and fit for the
Right.
wedding. Probably not eating properly. And then a couple days before, when finally everything was done and I was able to kind of sit back and relax, that's when the illness caught up to me and that's
Caught
when
up
I
with
got really
you.
sick. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
was better-ish by the wedding, which was
Right.
fine.
So tell me the restaurant that you did your
Mhm.
dinner at, say Des Artistes, Cafe Des Artistes or Cafe
Cafe
Artistes?
des Artistes, yeah.
Des Artistes. Okay, so you guys sort of booked, you had like a little private, tell me, like, how did you come about finding that restaurant or like, why did you pick that restaurant, that type of thing?
He started the ceremony was at the villa itself, but then I wanted to go to I think the one big
Mm,
budgeting item that I did wanted to splurge on was actually having a beautiful restaurant experience for people to try because
it
I
was,
mean my
it
family
was.
yeah, my family we don't go to like five-star catering restaurants. It's not really something
Mhm.
that we've had exposure to. So I really wanted to treat my family. You know, everyone's coming out there for us. So I really wanted them to have like a really beautiful experience with amazing food and an amazing restaurant. And wedding food, from my experience, has kind of been like, you know, dry chicken and bread and like it's great, but it's like mass produced and it's not very like made with love. We went in December when we went there, we tried a couple different restaurants and we were kind of flip flopping between are we going to go with like the super cheap local tacos or are we
Right.
going to go to like this nice, beautiful restaurant? So we ended up going to this restaurant and we did like all inclusive drinks. So you can have all inclusive drinks for like the 2 or 3 hours that we were there. And then we had like a little space for speeches. And I think a big one was having in this like private area, we had a big garden wall behind us,
Yeah.
and that was stunning for photos. So it was
I'm gonna
absolutely
add
gorgeous.
some
The food was incredible. The views were incredible. It was kind of an indoor outdoor setting. So we had this beautiful garden wall behind us. There was also like a violinist playing live music throughout the night too. It was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. And we requested, we weren't actually in a private area, but we did request
Right.
that that entire area of the restaurant would not be seated if possible, like if they weren't that busy to try to seat people away from us. And they did, which was great because then we were able to kind of have that whole area for speeches and everything. And it was perfect. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I think the only negative thing is the service wasn't ideal. We the all inclusive drinks that we paid for,
Yeah.
but those drinks were not coming out as frequently as we were hoping because, you know, with all
Mhm.
inclusive, like it was not cheap. So we are trying to make our money's worth. And, you know, the server, I think we only had like one or two servers for our
Yeah.
entire table, which we did
Mhm.
have to say something about. But besides that, like the food was amazing. The venue itself was gorgeous. And yeah, it was.
That wall, the garden wall behind you was amazing. And the violinist was amazing too. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It was very elegant. So how did you find it? Oh, because you just went around and tried restaurants.
We did, but I also was very active on like the Facebook forums, just asking people about local restaurants. I think that's actually how I found you too.
Probably.
They were really great with recommendations, and you post something and you get like 70, 80 responses. So I
Yeah.
had a very large list and very large variety of different places to try and just see things that met our needs and, you know, either price wise or venue wise, food wise. Like it was really great.
3-course meal. And the food was really good and the portions were good too. I do remember that.
Yes.
And all inclusive drinks. And how long were you at the restaurant for?
Um, I think we ended up being there for about 3-ish hours, I'd
That's
say.
good.
Yeah, 3.5 maybe.
And
Like
did they ask for a deposit at the restaurant? Like how did you go about booking the restaurant?
they did ask for a deposit.
Mhm.
We ended up actually paying for the whole dinner. No, we didn't. We bought it afterwards. Oh, we paid I think a $500 deposit, And then we were able to like pay the rest like at the end of the night. I think my husband snuck away and just kind of like tapped the credit card. And
That's amazing.
yeah, but it was good because we were able to negotiate pricing and have everything finalized before
How
the
did
dinner.
you negotiate pricing with a restaurant? I get negotiating pricing with a venue that wants to charge you $1,500 to do this and blah 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 blah. But how do you negotiate with it? Like, what's your tips, girl? Like, how does someone negotiate with a restaurant?
Yeah, so we we tried the food. We went there and we tried the food beforehand. And we kind of chose which menu items we liked and didn't like and what we wanted for that. So I think one of the big ones is I didn't like the soup. We're recommending that we would have like a soup beforehand, but I really fell in love with this tomato dish that we replaced it with, but the soup had like some meat in it. So I was able to say like, okay, listen, like, you know, we're having something less expensive because, you know, meat over vegetables. So that was one of my negotiating points. But also we had a couple of people with dietary restrictions. So like, vegetarian and so on and so forth. So I was able to kind of say, okay, listen, we're saving costs on this. This person's not going to be there. And just kind of all in all saying, okay, we will leverage to say, okay, listen, we will spend, you know, 3-4 grand for a dinner, but we want it at this price. And being able to set that price, I was also able to negotiate, not necessarily price wise, but I was also able to negotiate adding different things into the menu. So, for example, the all-inclusive drinks had a couple different tiers to it. So, like, tier 1 was just like basic bar liquors, and then tier 2 was like more premium, and then tier 3 had like wine and premiums or something. And so I was able to say, okay, listen, we're spending this insane amount of money on dinner, but for the all-inclusive, I would like just the base plus wine. So I was able to add like little parts of that, and they were like, okay, yes, we'll do base plus wine. Plus, we'll give you a bit of leeway on the pricing for these meals here. So I was able to maybe negotiate a couple $100 off, which was great, but it was still expensive. But then again, like this was the one part of the wedding that we really wanted to, you know, treat people with.
No, I didn't know you could negotiate price with a restaurant. I didn't know that
negotiate anything.
Really? So what was it for like 15 people? Like how much did that cost?
Yeah, so I think all in all, we ended up spending about 3,500 Canadian on the food, which was, again, like I know that's very expensive, but this is the one
if
part.
you were to have that dinner in Canada, I think it would be close to $10,000. I'm not joking.
It was very good. It was very, very good.
That would be like a 10K dinner in Canada with 15 people, 3 courses, alcohol, live music, I thought you had a private room because no one was near you guys and you had like your own beautiful long table. In Canada, that would have been 10K plus tip. And they probably wouldn't have negotiated on alcohol at all because obviously Canada alcohol is like, meh. They're such sticklers. They're such sticklers.
Yes.
Dude, you're killing it with the wedding planning shit. Like you were killing it. Like everything.
It was amazing. And again, I think one of my big motivations was really just seeing the quality of food I've seen at other people's weddings and the price tag behind that. Like 3,500 is cheap compared to what some of my girlfriends had paid for their wedding dinners, and you didn't get half the quality. So I think it being destination and B, having way, way less people, we were able to have less people, but increase the quality like crazy of the food and the venue and the experience.
So how far in advance did you give out the invitation?
So we pretty much locked down the time right around the time we finalized the villa. I think around November we had confirmed who was going to be there and people started booking their tickets. What I did was I gave out 2 different dates. So I think I gave out like May 18th to 20th, which is what we ended up doing because it was also over the long weekend, which worked out really well for people who couldn't get work off. And then we also did like a week prior to that on like, I don't know, the 10th to the 14th or something. We gave 2 different dates and we asked people like, are you able to come to one? Can you come to both? And that was really helpful because then, you know, more people were able to come to the 17th to 21st. And the villa, we had already discussed with them and we were, you know, we're like, we've finalized, this is the villa that we're wanting. So I think I gave them I think I gave them like a bit of a deposit or I just connected with her on the phone or something. I can't totally remember what happened, but And she ended up trusting that we were going to book. So she reserved those 2 time slots for me until I got confirmations back from everybody. Then once we confirmed, we dropped that initial time slot and then kept the latter one. So that was,
Yeah, but how many months was that 7 months then that you gave your guest notice?
yeah, I think about that.
Yeah, that's
But
pretty good.
prior to that, we had already set the intention. So we got engaged in May of the year before, May 2023, we got engaged. And from our engagement, through dinner conversations, then we had our engagement party. We're already setting the expectation that we're going to have a very small wedding and it's going to be in Mexico. So people were already kind of getting excited and we're under the impression that this is what was going to happen and kind of the year it was going to happen. So I think, when people are looking at their year on a grander scale, if they're thinking, okay, wedding, Mexico, they're probably not going to plan the Las Vegas trip where they're going to gamble away all their money.
Right.
Like they kind of have the intention set that this is what they're going to be spending their money on.
Their 2-week, yeah.
And a lot of people ended up making a trip out of it. Like a lot of people ended up coming a week before or staying a week later and experiencing Puerto Vallarta, which is a city that we absolutely love and traveled to quite often. So it was great to have everyone vacation there.
That's so good. So roughly ballpark, then what I'm asking is so did you guys use a travel agent to coordinate the flights, or because there was only 15 people, you probably helped people, you told them when to book and everyone flew in from Winnipeg basically?
They basically just told them when they needed to be there. Like you have to be there on the 16th because that's when we get, that's when we're going to start settling in. So the 16th and then to the 21st, you have to be there. But besides that, some people had to leave early and that's fine. But I gave them the itinerary and the core days they needed to be there. And then people kind of decided to travel together or travel separately or, fly in just for the wedding or fly in, before or after. So I think the one thing that kind of went awry was we chose the destination of Puerto Vallarta because it's cheap flights from Winnipeg and it's also direct. But it turns out after planning everything and doing all the deposits that yes, WestJet and Air Canada, they don't fly to Puerto Vallarta directly from Winnipeg in that month because it's a less traveled month.
Yes.
So we're like, okay, great. So all of our family is now traveling. Some people had 2 layovers, 1 or 2 layovers. So should have worked out perfectly where it was a nice, easy flight for everyone.
Right.
Some people ended up having to stay in Calgary overnight that wasn't ideal, but everyone was okay with it in the end. I think tickets initially we were projecting everyone's tickets would be probably around $450 out of pocket. Everyone paid their own way, which again, I'm very thankful that everyone came out. But we were projecting about $450-ish round trip. And I think some people ended up spending $800. I think the flights just around that time just ended up not being what we were anticipating, because we've never really spent more than $500 on a round trip to Puerto Vallarta, and it just skyrocketed for some reason.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I never thought about that. Some let's say discount Flair Air or WestJet or whatever, they have amazing deals, but only for 6 months of the year. So if you're booking off season, that's something to take into consideration because. I don't know, 2 layovers from Winnipeg? That would, So what do you think guests roughly spent then? Your average guest, what do you think they roughly spent, coming to your wedding or,
It's a great question. It's very difficult to pinpoint because we had some people fly in from, Yellowknife. We had someone who was ending their trip in Asia and flying in from Japan. So we had... Cool. A very large amount of contingencies. And then again, some people came in early. And I think ultimately, May was probably a good decision because it is the off season. And even though people ended up spending a bit more on flights, I think everyone overall saved on food costs, transportation costs with Uber and stuff and accommodations because technically May is off season for Puerto Vallarta. Even though the weather is still beautiful, there was no rain. It was just a little bit more humid than it would typically be. So it's very hard to pinpoint how much people spend because it really is dependent. But I think it being off season was very helpful.
Yeah, that's probably also why you were able to negotiate with the restaurant, right? Because if they had other bookings pending that day, they'd be like, oh, we'll get back to you. Yeah. We'll see what someone else is going to say. So, okay, that's interesting. If you want to negotiate with vendors, off season is optimal.
Yeah. And
To-
our villa too, like we slashed the price on our villa significantly because we were off season.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Mhm.
Okay, I feel like you answer all my questions before I have to ask you the questions. But oh, and then so what do you think you guys spent on your wedding? Like dress, the photography, the dress, like what was like your all in then? What did you guys spend with like planning your wedding and doing everything? Like what was your original budget? And then what did you sort of ballpark end up spending?
So, of course, budgets always go over, but
Yeah.
our original budget, I think, but I think we started at like 15, which again, like it kind of kills me as an investor thinking of spending 15K and not getting a return, but it's a lot. So we were initially budgeting about 15, and then that quickly bumped up to 17, and then all in, I think we were around 21,000 was about the all in cost.
I
Yeah,
think that's
which
really
I
good.
mean,
I think that's
it's
really
realistic considering what
it's
we got.
realistic. And your villa was amazing. I think it's better than having, I hate to say it, but sometimes at hotels there's just like too many people there that they're sort of like up in your business, and then they're, you know, like even the adults only hotels. Like what did I do the other day? Oh yeah, I shot an engagement at a hotel down here, and it was awesome. It went amazing, but there's like 5 million people in the background. No, not 5 million, but there's like people in the background. And it's just like, for me, it's just like, boys,
And
your
it's not
villa.
as intimate because if you're staying at a resort, like you're going to be mingling with other people, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you wanted. But I really wanted it to be just us, having like a villa for 4 days for just us, and my dream wedding with my dream flowers, my dream dress, like everything ended up absolutely perfect. And for that being $2,100 was so worth it. Like the food was incredible. Like, we didn't do it very traditionally. Like after the dinner, we ended up going to a speakeasy, which was full of people, but we already did, you know, all the stuff together. So we ended up going to a speakeasy, which was amazing because they had like a live saxophone playing some sort of like saxophone mixed with EDM music. And this speakeasy was gorgeous because it was like indoor outdoor speakeasy, and we were like underneath like the moonlight, and it was gorgeous. It was so much fun. It was, granted, extremely busy, so we didn't stay there very long because we could not get drinks because it was just like it was understaffed and busy, and we brought a whole wedding party there, so like we understood that, you know, we contributed to the busyness. So then from there, we ended up going to the Malecon, and we just walked there because it was so close. We just went to the Malecon after, and we went to one of the big nightclubs there, and we had like we got like a bottle in a section, and it was hilarious because, you know, traditional Mexican clubs are like, you know, girls in like little thongs dancing to try to get people in, and like Bad Bunny blasting, and I have some very conservative Christian family members, and like everyone was having a great time, and seeing that was hilarious because we have all sorts of ages. Like we got, you know, some 21-year-old kids, and we had people all the way up to 60, and everyone was just having a great time. Everyone was dancing and hanging out, and like that was a really fun part. We did the whole club thing, and then after that, we ended up all going back to the villa, and everybody at the villa, like all 18 of us, going to. So again, there was an infinity pool. We all ended up just swimming after, and we like all went into the infinity pool. Some people watched the sunrise in there. We just had drinks, and someone brought a volleyball, which I mean went over into the ocean really quickly, which wasn't ideal. But we were all just hanging out, and it was a lot of fun.
That sounds so perfect. That sounds so amazing. I love that. That's so good. And yeah, it's funny. Like you kind of started this conversation with talking about your friend's wedding, how she was constantly walking around and she didn't get to spend time with people. And it's the complete opposite of your wedding, where you got to spend like this amazing quality time with people and like watch the sunrise and go swim in the infinity pool and just have this really intimate time with like your besties. And yeah, you know, like you don't know if you'll ever be able to do that again, really. So,
and I think one big takeaway that I would recommend to anybody is, yes, I was extremely detailed, and of course I had a very tight schedule, but I did allow for that schedule to be flexible, which I think was absolutely ideal in planning my dream wedding because I mean, things did go over time wise, and that's okay because we had such a small amount of people that, people aren't wondering, oh my gosh, where's Ashley? What's happening? Like, why aren't we doing this yet? Like, we're behind schedule. We were able to communicate very easily through our group chats, like, hey, we're not ready yet. Like, we're still taking photos. And I think that was really important to be able to have a flexible schedule because I was truly able to close out every single moment and live every single moment until I was done. So, for example, when we were taking photos with all the girls, I wasn't done. I wanted to take more photos. I wanted to take more videos. I wanted to, pop champagne and have some girl time. And I wasn't done with that. So we ended up doing that for an extra half an hour, which pushed everything else back a half an hour, which was totally fine. But then even our dinner, like at our dinner time, or like at our dinner, you were saying like, again, there was one big long table and we were supposed to do speeches in between every course. So it's supposed to be an appetizer and then a speech and then the main course and then a speech. And the appetizer and the dinner course, like they came out pretty quickly and everyone was mingling and having a nice time. So we didn't end up doing that. We ended up just eating and then having the speeches at the end, which was totally fine because again, there's a small amount of people. Everyone was enjoying our time and we were able to really live in that moment and close that moment out without being rushed about the next thing. So I think that was so important just to have a very relaxed setting and have something where, you were able to close out and live every single moment. And I don't have any regrets. And again, my girlfriend who got married was saying like everything was so frantic and they're going from the church to the car to, pictures here and there and there. And it's like constantly, what's next? And next thing you know, it's gone. And for me, of course, weddings go by so quickly and it did go by so quickly, but I don't have any regrets and I don't look back at that as, oh my gosh, I wish I did this. I wish I can relive it because I lived it. Like I did it all.
That was amazing. That was so good.
That was so amazing.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so amazing. That I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before.
Yeah. No, I know.
Okay, that's so good. Okay, dude, that's so good. Let's end it on that because I just feel like that's kind of a little epic ending there. But thank you. So this is the thing too. It's like, Ashley,
and like I have you to thank for that too because you were on a schedule too. You're like, okay, like we have to do family photos now. We have to do girls photos now. And I was like, wait, Danielle, can we just take one more picture? Can we just do this one video? And you're like, absolutely, let's get it. Like
these coyote puppies.
I'm also gonna switch you to off my AirPods. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go get them.
Sweet.
They're so heavy.
Let's see these cute little bulldogs.
They're so cute. Oh my god.
Oh, they look like rescue dogs. Oh my goodness.
They're heavy. Typically, we foster younger, like smaller pets, but I'm out of breath from carrying up.
They look like good doggies.
They do. They're very sweet when you hold them. Yeah. They're very, very sweet. But when they're locked in a kennel, it's been bad. This one, she's chewed her way out of 2 kennels so far.
But look how cute she is. I don't believe you. She looks like a skinny dog. Their ears are back too. She's like me.
She's camera shy. No. Aren't they cute? Yeah, they are. They were found, I think, on either on a dump or on someone's property. I'm not sure. They were found with like 12 or 13 other dogs, and they've never had human connection until they came to us. So it's been a lot to try to like get them rehabilitated because they were quite feral and very scared, but now they're super sweet and they're happy, and yeah, they're heading to BC to get adopted soon. So yeah, we've had 63. They're 62nd and 63rd foster pups. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we foster them and then we send them off to different provinces to get adopted, and because all of our shelters in Manitoba here are pretty full, so we send them off to get adopted and try to follow their little journeys. But these guys are leaving on Monday, so bittersweet. What's called Canine Advocacy in Winnipeg here. Yeah, it's really nice. Like some of them you're sad when they leave, and then some of them you can't wait for them to leave. like these guys, I'm pretty excited for them to leave, to be honest. I'm kind of done with their shenanigans. They're troublemakers, but they're very sweet.
Oh.
Like, oh,
Okay, not that I'm gonna